Yo, hey guys, it's me, Anchor64 with another video. This time I'm actually going to talk about AQ20 and the loot, moreover go over the loot in AQ20, talk about which pieces are very good for which classes, which pieces are very interesting, moreover go over the notable loot that exists in AQ20. So there's actually a lot of very good loot in AQ20. Especially if we look at the different pieces we can get, compare them to how easy they are to get. So that's actually very interesting. And that's what I will do in this video. In the background you will pretty much see my footage clearing AQ20, and I will try to edit the video kind of so like when I'm talking about the boss, you will see that boss in the background as well. But yeah, that's something I need to do later, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much that. Other than that, I tried to make a video where I would go over the Wowhead guide and just talk about the loot on that website, but I thought it probably makes more sense to make it edit it a bit more, make it a bit fancier, and that way it's a bit easier to understand. So this video will be for every class, so not only warriors, don't worry, which this channel mostly focuses on, to be honest, but no, this is like for all classes, which I also put in the title. So yeah, so every class can gain a benefit from that. And also I will talk about a bit about loot prioritization. So if there's a certain piece which is probably be better on some class or some spec than another spec, I will talk about that. One thing I need to talk about is however, I'm mostly familiar with warriors. I did some research, of course, for the other classes as well, so I don't want to have a lot of wrong information on this video. That's one thing. But still, there could be some mistakes for maybe other classes or even like for warrior. So if you have anything to say, feel free to comment. But let's get to the actual video. And first of all, what we can talk about are the tokens. So in AQ20, there are actually like multiple bosses which drop tokens similar to the ZG ones, where you also had tokens, and we have a whole new different tier set. So this is like the AQ20 tier set, which is very similar to the ZG one. Just beforehand, the tier sets are not really strong. There's like one set piece that is kind of usable, like the rogue one, which gives you less energy spent on slice and dice, which you use a lot as a rogue. But other than that, I would say most of the, like, we don't really focus on the tier sets, we only focus on the items. So that's one thing. For the tokens, however, they changed it up. So in ZG we had bracer tokens, we had chest tokens, and we had belt tokens. However, in AQ20 we will have cloak tokens, ring tokens, and weapon tokens. Also, how they did it is they split each token up into two parts for different classes. So we don't have every class on one token. No, that's not what they did. For example, we have 2 cloak tokens, we have 2 ring tokens, and we have 2 weapon tokens, pretty much split for the different classes. So for example, for warriors, we would get the Kuraji Martial Drape, that would be like our token. For hunters, they would be interested in the Kuraji Regal Drape, which is their cloak token. So that's how it works. Yeah. Another thing is, different bosses also drop different tokens. So some bosses drop only cloak tokens and ring tokens. Some bosses drop only like ring tokens and weapons, and some bosses drop all 3. But you will see that I will talk about each different boss as well, which tokens they drop and so on. So yeah, don't worry about that, I will go over that as well. So first of all, let's go over the tokens in detail for which and which are they the best, which classes can use them, for which classes are they good, and so on. So first of all, let's start with the Kuraji Martial Drape. That one is a cloak token for warriors, rogues, priests, and mages. But the only ones that should be interested in this are warriors and rogues. As you can maybe already see, or maybe thought about, most of the loot in AQ20 is of course not the best in slot loot. It is same story as ZG, more of a catch-up rate. However, I would say the loot is actually stronger in AQ20 than it was in ZG when it came out. So like more classes and specs should be probably more interested in AQ20 actually. Also, it's way faster. So that's another benefit of that. So yeah, for the Kuraji Martial Drape, for warriors and rogues, it's a very good cloak. It's pretty nice actually. So for example, for warriors, it gives us 15 strength, 9 agility, 9 stamina, 1% hit. And for the rogue one, it gives us 18 agility, 11 stamina, 1% hit. So now you can see it has a very nice amount, spreaded amount of stats. However, there are better cloaks as well. I think rogues have like 2 other cloaks that are better. And for us warriors, the cloak of Draconic Might, which dropped in Blackwing Lair, is still better than this one. Because yeah, hit is not that important for us. And we have one other rogue, the Kafun cloak. The Kafun cloak, which is even better than that one. But yeah. However, the other cloaks are way harder to get. This one is very easy to get. I even got it in my first AQ20 run, which I shouldn't have been even doing because it's not even released yet, but I have the cloak as token. So yeah, you can see it's very easy to actually get. So that's one thing. So only warriors and rogues are pretty much should be interested in this token. For the other classes, it's not really that good, sadly. The next one is the other cloak token, which is the Kuraji Regal Drape. That one is for paladins, hunters, shamans, warlocks, and feral. Feral druids. I don't know why my notes say ferals, but sorry. Let me change it. It's actually druids. So yeah. That one, however, is nothing special. There's like no class which is like, oh, this is really good for that one class. I would suggest just giving it to one class which for whom it is an upgrade for. So maybe you have someone which has like a very, very bad cloak. You can pretty much give them that token and they can benefit from it. One warning, however, it is kinda annoying to actually turn in this token. Similar to ZG, you actually need a certain rep amount to even do that, and also adding to that, you also need some items which drop in like AQ20 and so on, like some trash items. You can combine that and then you can turn the token in. So for the cloak, you need actually Revere to turn it in with the Sonoran Circle, which is annoying and which you won't probably have when AQ20 will come out. But yeah, it will get easier to actually farm the reputation when AQ20 properly releases, because we get more quests, and AQ20 of course also gives us a huge amount of reputation. But that's one thing you need to consider. You can't immediately turn it in, sadly, unless you farm the rep beforehand yourself. Good, so that was the 2 cloak tokens. Let's go over the ring token. First of all, let's go over the Kuraji Ceremonial Ring, which is for hunters, rogues, priests, and warlocks. There's only one class which has a huge benefit from this ring, and that one is warlocks. So actually for warlocks, this ring is the best in slot ring. Which ring I'm going to talk about? The ring I mean is the Ring of Unspoken Names, which you can get from this token. It's of course only for warlocks. It has 12 stamina, 1% crit, 14 spell power, and 1% crit. So definitely really, really strong. It is the best in slot ring for warlocks, according to Wowhead. And there's like one other ring which is also new. So like both of these new rings are the best in slot rings for warlocks. So yeah, definitely I would suggest trying to get that if you are a warlock. If you are in a guild, try to give this to your warlocks first. So because I get the biggest benefit from this. For the other classes, this ring is not really good. So yeah, that's one thing. Next one, we have the Kuraji Magisterial Ring, which is for warriors, paladins, shamans, mage, and druids. And that one again is not that interesting. It is only like kind of interesting for warriors and prot paladins. So for warriors, the ring, what it has is it has 11 strength, 14 stamina, 1% crit. We as warriors have a lot of choices for rings. We have, like, even before AQ releases, we have tons of rings we can use. This is another ring which goes to the pile, which can be useful. It isn't the best installed ring, it's just an alternative ring we could use. The other one is pretty much for paladins. What I mean by that, like for prot paladins, can be a good ring to use. I really won't go over specs like prot paladins, things like shadow priests or balance druids. I will mention them a bit, but yeah, they're not really classes that get played by most people, especially not in raids. So yeah, and I have enough classes to already look at, so that's another thing I need to consider. So yeah, that's pretty much that ring. So only really interesting for warriors as an alternative. However, I would say just give it to whoever, to be honest. So next one we have. Now we are going to talk about weapon tokens. And you can actually turn them in to get a weapon of your choice. Also, again, differentiated by different classes. So the first one we have is Ahn'Qiraj Ornate Hilt, which is for priests, mages, warlocks, and druids. And there's like only one class that gets a huge benefit from this, and that is priest. So priests can get a mace, which is a Gabble of Infinite Wisdom, which gives them 10 stamina, 11 intellect, 4 mana per 5, and 90 90 healing power. So that is a huge amount. It's even more than the Blackwing Lair one, so which is kind of insane. Of course, it's not the best in slot one. If you did, you rank 14 grind as a healing priest, you pretty much got a way better mace than that one with way more healing power. But if you didn't, this one is really easy to get. And there's also another one which can drop from Kafun, but again, that one is really insane. I think it has like 180 something healing power. But yeah, it's from Kafun and it will be very contested. Everyone wants to have that. This one is really easy to get and has like 90. So this one is really insane for priests. So if you have a priest, definitely give them this token first. For the other classes, it's not really nothing special. It's not really that strong, to be honest. But yeah, that's like one thing I wanted to say here. The next one we have is the Ahn'Qiraj Spiked Hilt. So that one is for the other classes, which would be the warriors, paladins, hunters, rogues, and shamans. And this one is for most classes. It's not really like a thing where, for example, priests get a really good one. For warriors, for example, they can get an axe, which is pretty fast. So that could be one thing you can consider. Can be maybe useful on orc warriors. It is called the Sickle of Unyielding Strength. And it has like decent damage, 15 strength, 6 agility, 9 stamina, and 4 defense. So like maybe you can tank with this, but yeah, it's not the best weapon. It's just an alternative weapon you could maybe use. For the other classes, yeah, maybe a prot paladin can use something. The rogue dagger is also pretty good actually. Yeah, that one is actually very good. If you don't really have very good daggers, you can use this one. That one is the dagger of wild shadows. It has pretty good damage, 1.8 speed, 7 strength, 15 agility, and 1% hit chance. Yeah, that one is actually pretty good, to be honest. So if you are a rogue, if you don't have anything good, like any good weapons, or maybe you can even look at it, maybe it's even an upgrade for you, you can definitely go for this. So my recommendation would be, if you have a rogue which doesn't have really good daggers maybe, or he needs like one better dagger, he has like one really good one and the other one is not that good, just give it to your rogues. Because yeah, the other classes don't really benefit from that. Especially on Alliance, the axe is not really good for warriors anyway. So yeah, that's that. Unless you are using like Edge Masters, but whatever. That's already going over the scope I wanted to talk about. Good, so these were all the tokens. I wanted to just clear up the tokens at the start, because that's like a thing every boss drops, and I don't want to repeat myself over and over and over. And I want to talk about more like over the actually unique loot which each boss can drop. So we can actually talk about that as well. So let's go to the first boss, which is Kurinnaxx. And he drops cloaks, the cloak and ring tokens. So just so you know, you have that. He doesn't drop a lot of loot, so that's one thing. And from the loot that he drops, pretty much only like the Kiraji sacrificial dagger is one thing we can talk about. Each boss again drops some epics and a lot of blues, besides like one boss, but I will get into that. So similar story like ZG, pretty much the same thing where bosses dropped epic loot and a lot of blues. And yeah. So the Kiraji sacrificial dagger is a dagger 1.9 speed, so pretty slow kind of, but it has 15 stamina and 20 attack power. So it can be a decent pick for actually warrior tanks which are dagger tanking. So they have dagger weapon skill from somewhere, they can actually use this. Other than that, the rest of the gear is not really interesting. I talked about the tokens already. Again, Kurinnaxx drops cloak tokens and ring tokens. So yeah, but I talked about the tokens already. Next boss we have is actually General Rajaxx, and he has some more loot actually, which is more interesting, so that's a good thing. First of all, he drops also the cloak tokens and ring tokens, so that's the first thing. Another thing I didn't mention, I think, is each boss, they only drop one of each, so you only get like one cloak token from a boss. So you can't get like 2 cloak tokens from a boss. I think so, that's like what happened when I did AQ20, but maybe I'm wrong. So first of all, let's look at the loot, which is like the notable loot from this boss. We have the boots of the Vanguard, which are best in slot for druid tanks and feral druids, and for the rest it's a good alternative. So let's go over the stats. They are leather. They have 22 strength, 22 agility, 11 stamina. So a bunch of really good stats. However, one thing I need to consider, I need to mention, let's actually talk about some more important specs like warriors and rogues. For warriors, these are actually the second best boots in the game. When AQ20 releases, these will be the second best boots in the game. They are even close to chromatic boots if you don't need the hit, and you can get kings, which is kind of insane, to be honest. But yeah, that's how strong a lot of stats actually are. If you get a lot of stats and you can get like the ward buff and kings, that one can really boost your DPS. So that's why they are so strong actually. So definitely a good choice you can make. If you don't have chromatic boots, you can go for these boots. One thing, however, they are leather, that's one thing, so they don't have a lot of armor, but yeah, definitely really solid choice for warriors. And also very easy to get. They are from the second boss in AQ20. So yeah. Other than that, what else do we have? We have like another epic two-handed sword, but who cares about that? We don't really care about red paladins, to be honest, right now, but yeah, whatever. From the blue gear, however, we have some pieces. So first of all, we have the leg plates of Kiraji Command. So these ones give you 20 strength, 13 stamina, 2% crit. It's a blue drop, but these legs are actually pretty good for DPS warriors. They are plate, also one thing I need to mention, as well as red paladins. But yeah, as I said, who cares? Now I don't want to be too mean to red paladins. They already have a lot of problems. So yeah, I don't need to make create more. So yeah, with these legs, they are not as good as the rank 10 ones, but they can be a good pickup if you didn't really grind for PvP and you need some good legs. Because like the rank 8 ones, sorry, you don't get them with rank 10, rank 8. The combo of using the rank 10 shoulders and the rank 8 legs is still better than these legs. So yeah, that's always the thing because of the set bonus. So that's that. Next one we have, with this boss, if you do it, which you probably also saw in the background, you also kill some trash with it. And that trash has a unique loot table, and some of the loot is actually really good. So let's go over that as well. First of all, we have the treads of the Wandering Nomad. These are clove feet for healers, and they have 18 intellect, 11 spirit, and 37 healing power. So yeah, it's not like the best ones. These are not the best healing boots you can get, but they could be a good pick if you don't have any better. They are pretty good for holy priests and of course paladins, holy paladins. So yeah, definitely a pick you can make. As well, we have a DPS neck, Fury of the Forgotten Swarm, which has 8 strength, 1% crit, 1% hit. Yeah, if you don't have the Onyxia neck or something like that, you can go for this. It's again an easier neck to get. Actually, Onyxia head is pretty easy to get nowadays, but whatever. Yeah, so you can go for this one. It's actually a pretty good neck. It's really, really similar to the Onyxia neck. Good, that's that. So that was the second boss, General Rajaxx. That was the notable loot of this boss. Let's go to the next one, which is Moam. So Moam, what does he have? First of all, he drops the ring tokens and the weapon tokens. So now kind of a switch up. Ooh, bit of a difference here. But yeah, let's go over the loot. He also drops like more epics than the last 2 bosses. So he actually drops 4, but of all of them, only the Dustwind Turban is kind of interesting. What it has, it's a cloth head. It has 18 stamina, 29 intellect, 15 spirit, increases healing by 31, and has 1% crit. So this one is actually a decent pick if you are, again, a holy priest. So yeah, you can go for this if you don't have any better helm. Yeah, headpiece. But again, it's not the best in slot head. But again, it's a pretty good catch-up piece. Now let's go over some of the blue gear, because he drops a lot of good blue gear as well. First of all, we have the Southwind Helm. That one is a leather head. It has 21 strength, 24 agility, 14 stamina, 1% hit. And it's a good piece for druids, DPS druids, like physical DPS, like fairy druids, and also tanks, DPS warriors, and also enhancement shamans. Which is kind of an exotic pick, which you won't really see. But yeah, again, it has pretty good stats, but it's not the best in slot helmet. For example, for warriors, that would be Lionheart helmet, and there are also other better helmets. But yeah, if you are maybe new to the game or so on, it can be a pretty good piece to pick up. Exactly. So we can also go to some other loot as well. Look at some other loot. Again, as I said, he drops a lot of different blue gear. The next one would be the kittiness or shittiness shoulder guards, which are also another piece you can pick up. Let me go over them. And these are leather shoulders, which have 11 strength, 25 agility, 7 stamina. These can be a good piece for hunters and warriors. But yeah, we have better shoulders. As DPS warriors, for example, the rank 10 shoulders are way better than these ones. So if you have that, you don't really need this. Especially because of the set bonus. And yeah, for hunters, I think you would use something else as well. But if you don't have these pieces, again, pretty good catch-up piece you can get. Good. So that's all of the loot from Moam. Let's go to the next boss, which is Buru the Gorger. Good. First of all, what tokens does he drop? No, it's kind of interesting. He drops weapon tokens, cloak tokens, and ring tokens. So all 3 you can get from this boss. So I definitely want to kill him. The only notable loot, however, from this boss are some blue boots you can get. The rest, of course, like is only notable are the tokens, pretty much. So which boots do I mean? I mean the slime kickers. These ones are plate DPS boots, which have 18 strength, 12 agility, 12 stamina, and 1% hit. These are pretty much the poor man's version of chromatic boots, if you want to call it that. So they have less stats than chromatic boots. Chromatic boots has more strength and more agility, of course. But yeah, if you don't have chromatic boots, it makes sense to pick this up. This is again pretty easy pick to make. They are worse than the leather ones I talked about before. But they are still pretty good. So they are worse than the boots of the Vanguard. But still, they're a decent pick. Yeah, that's pretty much that. We have another poor man's version of the chromatic boots in AQ40, which are slightly worse than chromatic boots, but again, these blue ones are even worse. But maybe you don't have anything else, you can pick this. These are also a good alternative for red paladins as well. Yeah, but other than that, nothing special about this boss. Let's go to the next one. Ayamiss the Hunter. Yeah, that one is also another boss we can kill. Pretty late into the raid, however. And he drops weapon tokens, cloak tokens, and ring tokens. So again, all three you can get from this boss. However, not a lot of really interesting loot. Only pretty much one. So the notable loot from this boss would be the Stinger of Ayamiss. That one is a mace. And it gives us 9 stamina, 7 intellect, 1% crit, 36 spell power. So this is more of an spell power weapon you can use. It can be an alternative for Shadow Priests or Holy Paladins. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So nothing that notable about this boss, which can drop. He has some other epics you can drop as well. But yeah, there are some hands you can get. Gauntlets of the Immovable, which are best installed for prot paladins. But yeah, prot paladins don't really exist, to be honest. But you can actually catch up. You can actually get a lot of loot for like kind of strange specs, like not your main specs and so on. Of this raid, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, let's go over to the next one, which is probably the boss with the most notable loot in the game, and also the last boss, and also kind of an wipe boss. So yeah, also the most difficult boss, I would say. Ossirian. So Ossirian, the Unscarred, has a lot of loot we can talk about. He pretty much only drops epic loot, and of course, for the tokens, he drops the weapons and ring tokens. So not every token, but he has something in store for us, I can also talk about. So first of all, let's go over the loot. So from the loot, we have the first interesting thing is the Helm of Domination. This one is a plate tanking helmet. It has 21 strength, 11 agility, and 18 stamina. It increases our chance to parry an attack by 1%, and also increases our defense plus 7, but we don't really care about the defense. This one is actually a really good tanking helmet. So for warrior tanks, it is a pretty good helmet. It is worse than the Endless Rage one you get in Blackwing Lair, but that one is harder to get. So if you didn't get that one, this one is definitely a piece you want to pick up. Other than that, what else is there for us? We have actually the Bracers of Brutality, which we can talk about, which are really insane. So this is one of the pieces you might want to SR actually, especially as a warrior. So first of all, what is this even? So the Bracers of Brutality are plate bracers. They give us 21 strength, 12 agility, and 9 stamina. They are Biz for tank warriors, so they definitely want to pick this up. For DPS warriors, they are an alternative. They are better bracers, but also the bracers are harder to get. There's like one really good bracer pair you can get in AQ, but AQ40, but yeah, it's harder to get, like I said. However, this one is actually pretty good. So we definitely want to get this. If you don't have anything similar, if you don't really have really good bracers, definitely try to pick this up. They are actually very good for DPS warriors as well. But yeah, you tanks probably should get these ones first. Next ones, we have the Gloves of Dark Wisdom. These ones, again, are actually very insane. So what they do is they give you 19 stamina, 20 intellect, 35 healing, and 5 mana per 5. And they are also very strong. So they are an alternative for Resto Druids, Holy Priests, and Resto Shamans. And from what I checked, they are even the second best hands you can get for priests. So definitely try to pick this up if you are a healer, and they are actually very strong. So yeah, definitely check these out. Good. The next one is, yeah, like I said, again, a lot of really good loot on the last boss, which is yeah, kind of interesting. It's a different story than compared to our car, actually. So next one we have the Ossirian's Binding, which is a male belt. This one gives us 20 agility, 19 stamina, 10 intellect, 1% crit and 1% hit. So it's kind of an onslaught girdle, but just for male. And yeah, a bit worse stats. So this one is an alternative choice for enhancement shamans, DPS hunters, and also red paladins. It's actually very, very good. So definitely if you don't have the best in slot one, or can get that one. I think for hunters it was the one you could get in Blackwing Lair, but I haven't actually checked. Maybe I can check it right now. So give me a second. Ah, okay. It's yeah, my bad. It's actually the Dragonstalker belt is the best in slot one for hunters. But if you don't have that, definitely grab this one. It's very, very strong. So that's for that. Next one. Under that, we have the Leggings of the Black Blizzard. And this one is also another very interesting piece. First of all, what is it even? It is these are cloth legs with 14 stamina, 16 intellect, 8 spirit. They give us 41 spell power and 1% crit. And these ones are the best in slot choice for mages actually. Which is kind of insane. This one comes from AQ20, but yeah, mages. Here we go. Definitely try to grab these. These are just, from the looks of it, I'm not a caster player, but these look very, very strong. So yeah, definitely try to get this. And also it has a pretty cool name, Black Blizzard. Looks, most of the names are pretty edgy, but this one is kind of cool to be honest. Next one we have the Crossbow of Imminent Doom. Yeah, like I said, pretty edgy names all around. Another very, very special piece. So it's a crossbow, 5 strength, 7 agility, 5 stamina, 1% hit. This is more of an stat stick weapon. So first of all, you should go to the DPS classes who can use it as a stat sticks. It's not really a main like hunter damage weapon, unless everyone else doesn't need it. So why is this one so good? It is best in slot for tanks, and it is very good for warriors and rogues. Just because of the stats, of course. We have strength, we have agility, we have 1% hit. Especially on Alliance, this is a very, very strong pick to get. I think it's even better than Striker's Mark, or even like it's very close. There's like one better bow in AQ, but it's one of the last bosses. I think it drops from Oro, so yeah, this one is way easier to get. So definitely try to grab this. Maybe give it to your tanks first. I think it's even best in slot for rogues actually to this one. So yeah, you need to kind of fight for this. It's very contested. Next one, we have the Sand Polished Hammer. I definitely want to talk about this. This is an DPS mace. It is 2.6 speed, so it's very slow. It has 9 stamina, has a good amount of damage, 97 to 181. 1% crit, 20 attack power. So yeah, if you don't have really good weapon as a human, that's very important. You need to be human, so else don't grieve yourself. So if you aren't a human, don't use this. But if you are a human and don't have very good weapons, you can use this one. It's actually very strong. Of course, there are better weapons like Brutality Blade and such, but of course these weapons are like harder to get. This one is from AQ20, where easier to get, less competition. Good. Only thing is left is actually the head of Ossirian. So if you kill Ossirian, similar to ZG, you get a quest item. This one is actually the head of Ossirian this time, and you can get different necks for this. From all of the necks, there are only 2 choices you can pretty much make. You can either get the healing neck, which is pretty good for healers. It has 46 healing and 6 mana per 5. There are of course better necks, but still this is a pretty good choice to make. The other one you could make is actually the tanking neck. So the tanking neck has 14 strength, 21 stamina for defense. Pretty good stats all around for protection warriors. This can also be used. Other than that, the other necks are not really good. The DPS necks. DPS neck, for example, has like 42 attack power, 16 stamina. If you remember, the Hakar one has 40 attack power. Doesn't have any stamina, but it has also 1% crit. So it gets pretty much outclassed by the Hakar neck. Yeah. For casters as well, there are like better necks. 25 spell power is not a lot. Shock of the Fire Lord has a way more spell power, so not that interesting for casters. So that was all of the bosses, but there's still more. Yeah, AQ20 has a lot of things. Next thing I want to talk about is actually class books. So class books, I talked about this in my other video as well, when I talked about that AQ20 got released early, AQ40 as well, but yeah, maybe you saw that. But this time I want to go over the class books in more detail. So every single boss in this raid can drop a class book. There are different class books, like for each class, of course. Each class has 3 class books they can get. And all of them differ a bit. They either increase one of your abilities, all of them pretty much upgrade one of your abilities. So instead of going to a class trainer, you get your upgrades from these class books. So let's say you have Heroic Strike. The maximum rank you can get right now is rank 8. But if you have the book, you can upgrade it to rank 9. So it does more damage. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Other than that, we have also other class books which increase some other spells like buffs and so on. For example, like Mic'd or Battle Shout. And that's pretty much how it works. The most valuable ones are pretty much these who boost abilities which get used a lot and by the most popular classes. So the most valuable book in my opinion as well is the Heroic Strike book. So if you get this one, especially at the start, maybe try to sell it instead of using it. It's very valuable right now on Spine Shatter U since AQ20 got released early. They made a mistake. Some people got this book and they are trying to sell it. It's right now on the auction house from 5k to till 10k. Which is kind of insane. So yeah, definitely this book is very valuable if you get it, especially at the start. Other than that, similar ones are also things like Backstab for rogues, which is also another book which is very valuable as well, because Backstab is something rogues, like a lot of rogues use, like dagger rogues, which are like the rogue spec. I think that's also the best one. Also things like Fireball is another thing which is also used a lot, also pretty expensive. Other than that, the other things are pretty much buffs. So things like Battle Shout, things like Blessing of Might, Blessing of Wisdom, Strength of Earth Totem, a lot of different stuff. But yeah, you can see pretty much it just boosts your main abilities of your class which you would use. But yeah, some books are of course less valuable than others. So I need to kind of decide. Even things like increasing your rank of Deadly Poison also exists as a book. One thing I need to mention for Battle Shout, for example, if you get it and you are in a guild and such, give it to your tanks first. Why is that? Why I want to talk about that is pretty important. It really also depends in which group you are playing. So let's say you have a guild, you have pretty much the same groups every week, and you are in a tanking group as a DPS warriors and you have this book. From my information how it works, pretty much if you cast Battle Shout, the other warriors in your group can't cast it and can't buff with Battle Shout. Battle Shout is a pretty important threat generating ability, which is kind of wild, but yeah, it works like that. So a lot of warriors use it, especially in AoE packs, to generate threat. However, you can see if you have a warrior which also can use Battle Shout, but it has a higher rank, these tanks who don't have it can't use Battle Shout anymore. And they are kind of screwed and they get way less threat. So don't grieve your tank warriors by having that. Either let them use Battle Shout if you have this book, or just give it to your tanks. So yeah, that's pretty much what you should do. Good. So there's only one thing left, which are the enchants. So let's talk about that. Similar to AQ40, AQ20 can drop the same enchants. I don't know if AQ40 has some exclusive ones, but I don't think so. So we have the same enchants and we will pretty much just go over that. So we have a lot of different enchants. We have things like Frost Power, which can give you gloves in additional, like increase the frost damage by frost spells by 20, which you can apply on your gloves. This one is not really that notable. Let's look at some others. We have superior agility. This one is actually pretty insane. So this one is, you can apply it on your gloves. It gives you 15 agility and will be the new best in slot enchant for DPS warriors, protection warriors, feral druids, and rogues. So this is the main one you should get. Yeah, it's really important. Everyone wants to have this on their gloves, pretty much. You will easily find people who want this. Good. Let's go over the next ones. We have some quirky ones. We have stealth as well, which is okay. Increases your stealth, but yeah, maybe a PvP thing. That's it. Next one we have enchant gloves firepower, which increases, similar to the frost power one, but increases your fire abilities by 20, which you can put on your gloves. This one is actually very good for warlocks, so definitely they want to have this. Yeah, if you get it, use it. Warlocks will want to have it on their gloves. Next one, you have dodge. This one increases, you can put on your cloak. It increases your dodge chance by 1%. Dodge enchants, especially for like physical classes, are pretty bad. We have free agility, that's it. Like that was the best one we could use. Now we have new ones, and this is one of the ones we definitely want to use. So actually this one is actually really nice. Definitely try to use it. If you are a tank, of course. For tanks, this one is the new best cloak enchant. 1% dodge on your cloaks. Next one, we have two additional ones. We have healing power on your gloves, which increases healing, like amount healing done by 30. This one is pretty much the best one for each healing spec class, whatever you want to call it. So for priests, paladins, shamans, druids, they all want to have this. It's a pretty big enchant, so I definitely want to get this. Next one we have Formula Enchant Gloves Shadow Power. Teach you how to permanently enchant gloves, increases shadow damage done by spells and abilities by 20. This is one which Shadow Priests and also Warlocks again want to have. So yeah, another really good enchant. One thing I don't see is Subtlety, which is one enchant I saw, but I think this maybe drops from somewhere else, I think. Yeah, this is probably a new wall drop. So yeah, these are all the ones which drop in can drop in AQ20. These are pretty much the same ones which can also drop in AQ40. So yeah, same thing pretty much. But they didn't really make new ones for AQ40. There are also new enchantments we can get, but these are like wall drops, which you can maybe get from Nefarian and such. But yeah, these are pretty much all of that. One thing I didn't mention is there's also things you can pick up inside the raid, which you need to combine with your token to actually get the new token items. They can drop from trash, and things like there are chests in AQ20 which you can open, and they have these items, and they are also different for each class. So you have like the Idol of Death, which is for warriors, Idol of Life, and so on and so on. But yeah, that will be more interesting when AQ20 actually releases. It's pretty much the same story. Maybe I will make a separate video how you can actually, about the tokens and so on. But yeah, I think I explained kind of everything in this video. So yeah, if you have any additional questions, feel free to ask. I will try to edit this a bit, try to show you the items when I'm actually talking about them and so on, so you can actually see that. If you have any other suggestions as well, feel free to comment. I think I said this twice, but whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much that. I didn't talk about the trash drops. I forgot about that, so I will just talk about it really quickly now. The trash drops are mostly trash. So yeah, there's not really anything interesting besides the idols and so on you can get, and the scarab quest things you can get, which are, as I said again, needed for your tokens. But other than that, the trash items, like the gear, is pretty bad, but you can sell it on the auction house. It's all bind on equip. But yeah, that's like the only thing. Other than that, it's pretty unusable. It's not really best in slot or alternatives for something. Maybe someone wants to use it when they are fresh 60 and can use it for that. But other than that, it's pretty bad. Good, I think that was everything. I think I will make a similar guide for AQ40. I will see, that one will also take a pretty long time and effort, way more than this one, because there's like way more loot in that place. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, any suggestions, same thing. If you like this video or like these kind of videos, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.